Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much to Monica Berg for this invitation and the Campari Academy. It's really a pleasure to be here. I really hope that at the end of the 30 minutes that we're going to spend together, you will feel empowered to take action. So my presentation today is about driving gender balance in hospitality. And before going through the team, I would like to make a little bit of history. I think you know this lady, right? So this is Ada Coleman. She was a head bartender in the Savoy Hotel. She started in 1903, and she was there for 23 years. And this lady, maybe you know a little bit less, even if we are in France. This is La Mère Brasier, so Eugénie Brasier. So she was a chef. She was the first chef ever, not the first female chef ever, women and men together. She was the first chef ever that she got twice 3 Michelin stars. And this was in 1933. And if I wanted to make this point of history, it's because very often we listen that women in hospitality is something new. And actually, this is not true. So we're going to go through this agenda. We're going to understand where we are today. So it's like taking a picture of the situation. Then we are going to see how we got here. Then why we need to change. And the most important part of the presentation, what you can do. So if we see the percentage of women, I'm talking about cooking, right? So cooking at home is 93%. In culinary schools is quite good because nearly 48% of people with a degree in culinary arts are women. Then cooks is 39%, and then dramatically drop when you talk about chef, which is only 18%. And at this point, maybe you are thinking, why are we talking about gender? Because, well, talent has no gender. And we totally agree. Talent has no gender. But still, there is a very important question for our industry. Are we wired to identify the talent when it comes in a feminine shape? Or are we much more wired to identify the talent when it comes in a feminine shape? Because talent come in very, very different shapes, actually. So if we talk about gender pay gap means that a woman or a man, they are not getting the same salary for the same job. So for chefs, it's 28%. A female chef earns 28% less than a man. It's the second biggest gap of all industries. So here you have all the first one is IT, is computing, and the second one is chefs. And if we think about bars, so a female bartender gets 88 cents for $1 for a man. This is in average, because if we make the composition and you take white women in America, native women in American, or you take black women or Latinas women, it's the Latinas who would even get less paid. If we now think about women chefs or bartenders in events, so we see that Taste of Paris is only 5% female chefs. We think Madrid Fusion, 7%, Omnivore, 14%, and here right now in the Campari Academy, 40% of the speakers are women. So this is quite good. When we think about women in juries, this is, I think, the most prestigious competitions in the world. One is for cuisine, which is Le Bocuse d'Or. So the Bocuse d'Or, since 1987, 0.05% of judges were women. And in world class, which is, I think, the most prestigious for your industry, 30% of juries are women. We think about women chefs in awards. Michelin 2022 is 3%. The magazine, the list 100 chefs is 4%. The 50 best is 6%. And James Beard Award, they have a special program also, as you say, for the best bar program, is 50%. And then if you go to Google and you Google famous chefs, you get this. Or this. So this is also something that media should do, because normally women are portrayed in a special reportage about women. So we're going to talk about female bartenders in Napoli, or we're going to talk about female bakers in Paris, or we're going to talk about, instead of making portraits of only for women, let's do all together. The best trends in Napoli in wine or in bars, or the best bakers in Paris, all together. So for finishing about the picture of today, what we can see? We can see that there is very positive thing, because there is a lot of students in the culinary schools, but then we see that women, they got no recognition. No recognition in paid, no recognition in awards, no recognition in being invited to events, and no recognition in media. So the question is why women should come to this industry. So now we need to understand how we got here, because it's very rooted. So there are different causes. So the first one is the militarized kitchen system. So in France, we haven't invented the gastronomy, but we have codified the gastronomy. So Auguste Escoffier, he got inspiration from the army. This is why you listen words like chef or chef de partie, or at noon when you know it's the rush, it's le coup de feu. So this is very, very, very military. So a kitchen is based on commandment and on hierarchy and on power. So if you are a man or if you are a woman and you have soft values means that you believe in collaboration and you believe in empathy and you believe in work all together, a kitchen is not the most comfortable place for you. So there is two possibilities. You either don't try or you quit. Because in a kitchen, if you have soft values, in a kitchen you need to act the whole day as someone that you are not. So this is exhausting. The second thing is the boys' club mentality. So the boys' club mentality refers to the fact that the guys, they know each other, they refer to each other, they hang around together, they make jokes together, and sometimes women, they're definitely not welcome. And then I'm going to talk about ordinary sexism. In this presentation, I'm not going to talk at all about abuse, rape, or whatever, because this is a totally different presentation, and of course, it's extremely serious. I'm just going to talk about ordinary sexism. So women got sexism sometimes from co-workers, sometimes from their own boss, sometimes from the customers. And you know, if you expect from a woman that she should work harder for demonstrate that she deserves to be there, this is already sexism. If we talk about sexual harassment, so we are number one of all industries of charge with 13.8%. So we are the industry who harass the most the women. And this is the split by services, so restaurants, bars, hotels, catering. So just for remind, and we can be very proud, we are the second industry with the biggest gender pay gap, and we are the first industry with the biggest amount of charge for harassment. So stereotypes, this is very important because, you know, when we work for empowering women, we work for diversity, we work for inclusion, it's very important to have data. It's very important. We are not in the, we believe, we think, no, we don't believe, we don't think. We have data and statistics. So we have done a survey, and it's very interesting because we have asked male chefs why there are so little women in the industry, and they say it's too tough for women. And then they say they have kids. And when we ask the women exactly the same question, a women never say, oh, it's too tough. No, they say we got harassed and we don't get paid. So it's demanding. Yes, it's a very demanding industry. It is, but it's demanding for everybody, not only for women. And in the past, you know, It was a problem for women because women was in many cultures, women need to take care of the family and take care of the house. And when you have a very demanding job, this is nearly impossible. You really need a partner. If you are a man or if you are a woman, if you have a very demanding job, you need a partner. But now situation is changing because millennials, especially the boys, they have decided that they would like to raise the children together. So these issues with demanding hours is also a problem for a man now. And then I wrote perceived physically of the job, because it's a tough job, yes. But you should think about women in agriculture, for example. It's very demanding, it's very, very tough. And there is a lot of women in agriculture. You should think about women who are hairdressers. They are the whole day standing, making brushings and so on. Or think about the women in care or nurses. They are lifting bodies for so it's tough, yes, but women can do it. We are tough. So it's very important to deconstruct stereotypes. Why we need to change? So the first thing is attracting talent. If someone in this room is not looking for a staff, please put your hands like this, because everybody is looking for a staff, okay? So there is a whole pool of talent who is there, who are the women. And women are not coming to the industry. We understand why. And this is why we need to change also. If we change, we will attract the talent. So this is extremely important. You have some data from UK, from the Independent. So this is the first thing why we need to change, to attract the talent. The second thing is for retaining talent, because gender mixed team and balanced teams, they are much more respectful. They are much more secure also. So people will not leave the company, and turnover can be really very, very expensive. And the third reason is innovation. This is for Andrea, maybe you know from the cuisine. And the thing is in bars, in high-end bars or in high-end restaurants, people don't come for eating or for drinking. People, they don't go for it, they go for an experience. So if you want to offer an experience, you need to have diverse teams, because a study shows that diverse teams are 40% more creatives. And then there is some key action. There is a lot of key actions, but I just put 3. So the first is to create a fair and inclusive environment. So this is a lady from New Zealand, but she works in London, Anna Hansen, and she's very clear. And she said, we know girls and women get harassed. Unfortunately, a place with a lot of men is a risky place for a woman. Education is very important for this. So as a chef or as a bartender or as an owner or as a restaurateur, it's your job to track everything and to be yourself an example also. And gender pay gaps is also very, very important. So it's so rare that if you don't have gender pay gaps in your company, communicate about this, because it's really very rare. The second thing is to promote world-like integration. Okay, we can't change the time when people is going to pop up for lunch, because people will pop up at 1 and at 7. We can't change it. But still, we need to accommodate to real life. And there is many, many different things. For example, being more flexible. Sometimes in some countries, when you look for a staff, you want people to work 6 on 7 and the 2 shifts. And sometimes you have an amazing sommelier, and the sommelier is going to tell you, okay, I can work on Saturdays. Okay, thank you, bye-bye. And you are losing someone because you don't want to be flexible, or you can't. So it's something that we need to check and to try to improve, to be more flexible for attracting the talent. This is Alice Waters at Chez Panisse. And yes, we need to accommodate to real life. And this is something that we all learn from pandemics also. And then the last thing is to support female talents. When you are invited to a conference, I think even if you are a man or a woman, it's very important to ask who are the other female bartenders who are invited, or who are the other chefs who are invited. And then you can recommend your colleagues or your friends, and to say this is a great girl or a great woman from Italy or from Spain, and to try to have more and more women on the stage. It's very important to look for diverse candidates. And then they practice the reverse mentoring, something that is really, really nice, and I think Alex was very clear when he was talking about il maestro, il mentore, is that this is something that is really beautiful in our industry. In France, we say la transmission du geste. We transmit a gesture, and this is great. And the same way you teach the young girls or young women that want to come to the industry, the reverse mentoring is exactly the opposite, is to learn from the girls and from women how it takes to create a more inclusive environment. And now, just as a very short reminder, very, very small quotes, the first thing is that you only can be what you see. So representativity matters. This is very important. The second thing is that diversity is the solution. It's not a problem that we need to solve. No. Biodiversity is there. Diversity is there. Diversity is a fact. Then, if you want to really have a diverse business, you need to create create a better outcome for businesses, better businesses return. We saw before, it's more creative, it's more innovative. You attract people, and you will increase the reputation of your brand. This is if you are a diverse business. And also, if diversity and inclusion is a target for you, shouldn't be like, oh, we would like to do this. No, you really need to have a PDCA and a plan and a strategy for really achieving your targets. And this is the next of what I just told you. You need to turn the good intentions in real actions, and how. So you think differently when you recruit. Mentoring is key. Data, again, data. So raise awareness and to publish your gender pie annually, and to have a diversity and inclusion chart, and same for stagiaires. You need to have a chart for stagiaires. So this is the very last slide, and as I told you before, diversity is a fact, but inclusion is a choice. And by the way, exclusion also. So thank you very much. Merci.
I think there was a lot of information that needs to be digested, but one of the reasons why I love always listening to you is that, can you hear me? Okay. Is that you deliver so much factual information in such a calm way, and it just makes me like, but so what are some of the takeaways? What are some of the things that you could do as a business owner or employer that wants to really make your business inclusive and not just diverse?
Inclusion. Inclusion is also, for example, we always think about race. We always think about race, or we think about women. But inclusion also is, for example, if someone in your team has an accident, a car accident, and suddenly is in a wheelchair, this is inclusion. How are you going to integrate this person in the company, for example? Or let's say senior people also. In many countries, if you are over 50 and if you lose your job, and you know that you will never find a job, you will go until the end as unemployed, subsidiaries. So inclusion is all these kind of things. And sometimes also, in France it was very interesting because it was a highway company, and they need people for working in the night, in the toll, in the cabins, in the toll in the night. And they send this information about this availability of the job. They send it only to men, because the human resources, they thought women will be not interested at all. And then the women, they make a scandal, and they say, listen, when you work in the night, you have double salary, and you have 3 days free, so we are very interested. And the human resources say, yeah, but women have kids. And they were like, sorry, my son is in the university, so this extra money will be really great for me. So don't think at the place of the others, okay? Don't assume that people will be not interested. Don't assume that people is not free. Don't assume, no. You take a full list of a curriculum and you receive everybody. If you really, I see many companies have done this policy, and when you have a resume, you get an interview to everybody. And many companies, they have increased diversity by 30% doing this and not doing, oh, this no, this no, this no. No. Listen to everybody. It's it works very well.
And I think it's, if you want to be diverse and have more voices present, it's always more time consuming. And this is one of the biggest challenges that I face when I try to tell people that you should really fight for a more wider representation. What would you say to these people? Because sometimes it can be very frustrating meeting that wall. Yes, that they have no time.
Well, actually, I can understand when people say I don't have time for diversity, because as we saw before, there is not a single business in this room that they are not looking for staff. So sometimes it's like something that's going wrong, because we are called hospitality. And normally we should welcome the people, everybody, you know. So I think our industry, by definition, we are called hospitality. We shouldn't leave anyone behind. So we should welcome everybody.
I suspect there will be several questions from the floor, so I'm going to open up for questions. Anyone?
I have a question. You talk about managers and owners, but not really about employees. So I'm wondering what I can do as an employee, and not as, I don't own my place, but I work for someone. And there is only few girls in the team, and the rest is a boys club. So what I can do as an employee?
Good question, because as I told you before, harassment comes from different, sometimes from customers. And, sometimes I got this question, how it's possible that hospitality is the industry with the biggest harassment, And one of the answers is because this industry is a tip industry. So as far as I'm going to tip you, I'm allowed to touch you, So this is one of the reasons. And as I told you, bad conditions come from coworkers, from the owners, or from the customers. And as a colleague, everything is about talking, So if you remark that someone is not treated correctly, I think it's always, as Monica said, you keep calm, because it's. And you tell to the person, don't talk to her as a less worthy. She's doing her part, and she's part of the team also. Or don't make her feel unwelcome, She's part of the team. And also, it's important to generate awareness with your colleagues, but to talk to the. And also to talk to your manager or to your boss, because this is what Anna Hansen say, and you need to be monitoring all the time, be tracking these kind of things, because these things happens and they know it, but still you need to work about it. So I think it's interesting to say to someone, why are you talking to her like this? She's part of the team like you, sometimes it's not easy, but it's very courageous to do it, because it's the right thing to do. And I especially tell to the people, if she left, are you going to make her job?
And I think it's something that we need to encourage more, to be supportive of the ones that actually choose to speak up, defending others, because a lot of the time it will be kind of brushed under the carpet as well, or pushed back on. So I think one observation that I have seen is, with the younger generation, it seems to be less accepted. And there's much more focus on individuality rather than even gender, because some people would say if you classify men and women, you're already losing out, because there's more genders in today's climate. So I think there's a lot of important work to be done. So how would you suggest anyone that wants to work for more equality and diversity? What is the first step that you can do?
Well, the first step is always to make an analysis in the company, the situation, and to see gender pay gap, for example, and to check the amount of women that you have or different races. So this is something very interesting, to take a picture of the situation for knowing where you are. And then you need a PDCA, plan, do, check, and act. So as we say before, it's not only to say, I would like to be more diverse. Yes, but where are the figures? Where are the targets? The same way you have KPIs for telling we need to reduce the waste by this, we need to reduce water by this, we need to reduce by this. We have all in these companies. So it's the same indicators and the same, willing should be also. But the most important thing is to have figures. So it's the same thing sometimes for many countries. I don't have figures because as far as there is no figures, the problem doesn't exist, So I can't report on many countries because there is no figures, there is no problem. So it's very important to make a picture and then to make a real plan, an action plan, and to follow and to have the review at the end of the year. We haven't achieved, and if we haven't, why? So to try to improve for the year after.
More questions? Yeah.
So you gave one example on how women can lift women within this industry. Like you said, that we can recommend other women that we know. But I know for a fact that when other women come into my bar, for example, they see me as very, very scary, and they see me as someone that might kick down on them, because that's what we've had to do to sort of make ourselves go up. There's always been room for one woman or two women. So when other ones come in, we see them as a threat. Do you have any suggestions on what we can do to break that cycle?
Well, this is a very interesting question. So what I told before, what we can change is for women and for men. Women and men, we should know women. So even as a man, when you are invited, ask who are the women coming, and you should have colleagues also. What you are talking about, there are two different things. One thing is what we call the Queen Bee syndrome. So the Queen Bee syndrome, psychological people refer this to the women that needs to be the only one. There is a lot of women that have this syndrome, that they want to be the only one, like the Queen Bee, are surrounded by men. And then another thing, as you say, is the patriarchy. So patriarchy is very interesting to say this because sometimes at the end of this presentation, men come and they say, I'm not like this. So sometimes men they really feel attacked, So patriarchy is not men. Patriarchy is a system with only one model. And many, many men suffer also of patriarchy. So patriarchy is bad for everybody. So one of the things that patriarchy loves very much is to make women for free. This is one of the bases of patriarchy. And actually, for example, we are at home, we take care of the children, take care of the house, we cook, we do everything for free. But suddenly when we work outside, we pay someone for doing this. Okay? And patriarchy also, one of the keys of patriarchy is to divide women. It's very interesting because I have been here since yesterday because I like very much to listen to everybody. The program is amazing. And I see how they come and they put the macro and, hang around very, very close, even if they don't know each other. So this is really men. They are used to be outside. They are, many, many jobs, politics. Politics was invented by men for men. So as a woman to be in politics is really very hard. It's like we said before, like in a kitchen. So one of the bases of patriarchy is to separate ourselves. Because if we are together, we are 55% of the population. How can you imagine how powerful this is? So this is why patriarchy divides us. So this is something very, very important, that we should stick all together. Because women, we are not a category, or we are not a minority. Actually, we are the majority. So it's very, very important. And I'm thinking about Madeleine Albright. She was an immigrant in the States, and she was the Secretary of State, and she said always, there is a very special place on hell for women that don't support other women.
Any more questions? Yes, Dean.
You can also say together is stronger.
So, I have a question. You mentioned earlier on that one of the things you can do is publish the pay gap. And if I were a bar owner or a business owner and I went to do that, how do I prevent myself from making the mistake of doing it in the wrong way and exposing someone's wages? And you see a lot of people trying to do the right thing and doing it badly and causing even more of a problem. Is there somewhere you can go to figure out how to do it correctly? Does that make sense?
So this depends on the countries, because when I do this kind of talks in Scandinavia, they look at me like, what are you talking about? Because in Scandinavia, they have unions, and per category, everybody has the same salary. So the problem doesn't exist, let's say. So each country has a different background. Each country has a different speed. So we are not always in the same level of maturity. But of course, you don't publish the gender pay gap by names. You publish by category. This is the key point. And then what's interesting is to understand why. And if someone is earning 20% more for the same job, why? So must be a reason. Otherwise, you need to up the other people, which is happening right now. In many, many different companies, they are obliged to raise the salary, especially of the women. So, yes, it's risky, but it's fair.
All right. If there's no other questions, I think we will let Maria relax a little bit, have some champagne. No, I'm joking. And then we will... Oh, yes, please clap first. I'll continue.
Thank you. Yes.
And I will finish off by saying, before I remind you to leave your headsets at the stand, I will say that for everybody that found this talk very inspiring, and you should, Maria also hosts a forum every year, which is called Parabere Forum, and you should all come, regardless of gender, age, profession, because in my opinion, it is truly one of the most interesting and well put together conferences within our sector, as in hospitality, food, gastronomy, whatever you want to call it. So, shameless plug. She didn't make it, so I had to.
See you in March 2024 for Parabere.